All right, welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and let's talk about the new Walking Dead series called World Beyond. There's a premiere date, and there's a shocking and surprising announcement that it will only be 2 seasons. So is World Beyond canceled already? That's the question. Now, it looks like they're falling back on, or at least they're propping up the surprise announcement as this is an experiment. And we'll get into what, let me make sure I quote this right, because we'll get into what Sarah Barnett says exactly down here about it being an experiment. But to cover the facts, World Beyond is going to premiere April 12th at 10 p.m. and that follows The Walking Dead Season 10's Season 10 finale at 9 p.m. So you get the finale, and then you get the brand new series following that. And it's going to be 20 full episodes over the course of 2 seasons, so that's 10 episodes each season. And the reason why I say, or at least I initially thought, is this already canceled, or was this the plan from the beginning? And I say that because they already have season 1 in the bag. And if they're looking at this and they have their doubts, maybe they're like, okay, well, let's put a safety net on it and let's just experiment with this. We got a season 2. And I'm sure they've already had discussions about, and this is stuff we talked about on this channel for a while now, about making smaller and punchier stories, whether it's a 45-minute one-off, you know what I mean, backstory to a character that died, like Glenn and Maggie being on a scavenger run that's important, ties into the story, or even a completely new characters, whether it's 145-minute thing, mini movie, or 2-3 hour, big movies. It could be anything. It literally could be anything. So obviously we know they've been in discussions about if they have the story, then the way the platform is or the direction it's going, streaming and all the other connections, they can essentially just take whatever good story they got and fit it into whatever length would best be there to tell the story. Like if you have a really punchy 1.5 hour story, you don't need to throw it in a season, you know what I mean? Throw it as like a new long running show. You don't have to force everything just because the main show was like that. And that's how, for us and a little bit older, traditionally that's how TV's been. Time slots and people fighting for prime time. But now with streaming and moving forward and networks kind of jumping in and having their own little, I would have to say with AMC Premiere, it's open to have some bonuses on the smaller end. Now, it looks like with World Beyond, the thing that surprises me and confuses me the most is if it does succeed. If it doesn't succeed, then this is great. You get 2 seasons. Like I said, I love that word now, punchy, because it is. It's like, bam, in it, out, in, out, and that's it. Trimming the fat, no room for filler, or not as much filler as if you had 5, 6, 7, and it just kept going and going. And they said it's a close. We'll get into her quote after this, but they said it's close-ended, which means it has connective tissues to the Rick movie, and they've already made it clear that it's not going to be the main story for that, because the Rick movie will have its main story in its own mythology, but the main story here is going to have its connective tissues to the larger communities, the network, let's call it, but this story is going to be totally different. It's going to have its connections to the network, but these characters are going to be going off doing their own whole mission that's going to have nothing to do with the Walking Dead movies in that respects. But my question is, what if it blows up? What if people just connect with these characters and they're like, shit, this is fire. And they start seeing that climb, even if it's not right away, and they start seeing that, rise in popularity with this. Don't tell me they're just going to quit at 2 anyway. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe that at all. They'll keep going. I think there's two directions they can clearly go. They could just say, yo, this has grown much bigger than we expected. You know what I mean? And then they can season 3, season 4, or they could say, you know what, this is big, but it's really only big because this character or this character, and if a lot of characters die by the end of it, and there's only 2 or 3 main characters that really pull the focus, they could take them out, end it, close out that story, because you don't need all characters, you don't need their conclusions of the character development and that character to close off the story. So the story itself could officially close out, but you could take a character or 2 or 3 or 4 and sprinkle them into other parts of the Walking Dead universe, whether it's Fear, the main show, a new project, a new mini movie, you know what I mean? They could sprinkle them anywhere. That's 2 years from now. So that's what I'm thinking. If it's wildly popular, what are they going to do? And are they trimming this now or making the announcement now because they know, yeah, we've seen the first one and we really thought it was hitting, but when all is said and done, we don't know if people are going to gravitate to this. Because keep in mind, at this point, when they saw it before, they could have been like, yo, this might work. This might catch on. And now that the audience reception, fans' reception to the trailer, to talking about it, to images, to the first look images, which is important. I know we discuss we're not going to judge the show before it's out, but we damn sure are going to judge the trailer, the images, and that's not the same thing. But if it doesn't look good, if it doesn't look like it's up your alley, chances are you're probably not going to gravitate to it. You know what I'm saying? Not right away, anyhow. And that's the important thing. If you take 2-3 years to watch the first season of this show, if the majority of fans take that time, 98% of y'all just wait, the show's going to go under. So they, in a way, they need that priority. They need the fans to say, listen, within a reasonable amount of time, they're going to check this show out and support it if it's good. So I'm wondering if, based on what they know now, because I would imagine they have even more done as far as filmed, edited, all that other work, the CGI work, whatever. They have more done than before, and now they have the addition of having the fan feedback. So maybe it's just not as hot, and it's not pulling or projecting as hot as it was. So they're pivoting, and they're like, listen, you know what? We had this potentially maybe 4, 5, 6 seasons, but let's trim it and let's do more experimentation with 2 seasons, 1 season, 1 movie, mini movie, webisode, which I still think, if done right, depending on the type of stories they got, I still think there's some serious potential to draw in some people with some of those mini ones, but that'll come down the line. Let's see which article has... I believe this one has the quote, because there's articles everywhere about this, but a lot of them don't put the quotes in there for some reason. But this article has this quote from Sarah Barnett. I keep wanting to say Bennett for some reason. Anyway, what we are doing next is experimenting. We are making a movie with Universal featuring the Rick character and the 3rd television series in this universe. World Beyond focuses on the generation of survivors who have grown up post-apocalypse. Which I will say right now, that still doesn't make any fucking sense. That is the worst way they came out and announced that. Not the worst, but it is one of the more confusing because these characters are older than Judith. And it takes place before where we are right now with Judith, which means they were alive and older than Judith when the world fell. So essentially we're getting older than Judith but younger than Carl. Do I got that right? But still, they were potentially just a little bit younger than Carl. So we're basically seeing Carl and Lydia, characters like that. So it doesn't, the way that's worded still doesn't sit right. Now that we find out what we know, it doesn't sit right with me because that doesn't make any damn sense. Focuses on the generation of survivors who have grown up post-apocalypse. But that, Okay, all right, I get it. If you're small and you've been in the real world and, you go into the apocalypse when you're like 8, I get it. I get it. Maybe that's what they mean. When they announced that, I thought they meant like from babies to like 4-year-olds and then on. Anyhow, I'm sure some of them will be like that. No, they can't, because Judith is damn young as shit. And these are older than her by years. It doesn't matter. Led by 2 young female leads, it is a perfect advancing of the universe in ways that are multi-generational, fresh, and unexpected. It is not the intimidating The Walking Dead either in substance or form. I'm sorry, imitating The Walking Dead. I was wondering what the hell she was talking about. It is not imitating The Walking Dead. That reads a lot better. Either in substance or form, World Beyond is a 2-season closed-ended series that will tell a very specific and distinct story. Scott Gimple, the chief content officer of the universe, and his team are planning other experiments in this space, including specials, digital short film series, and other innovations in form. That's what I was mentioning about previously, how they do these digital short form series, or, I mean, it could be anything, I don't know contract wise, but that would be cool as shit. We can go back to some of those backstories too once in a while. Don't overdo it. But I loved having the backstory to Bicycle Girl. Prepping up for the new season, you get this backstory of like Winslow. I don't know. I mean, that's just like showing you a hero zombie, a zombie that's heavily featured and up close. And on the artwork, the promotional artwork becomes figures, collectible statues, and you get that little touch of backstory. For those who don't know, and it might be buried, especially if you're a new Walking Dead fan or newer, they have a little webisode. You can watch like 3 half-hour or 20-minute clips of the Bicycle Girl from season 1 and how before and what happened to her to get her to where she was at when Rick ran into her. They have the guy who writes Don't Open Dead Inside on the hospital floor, the Rick story. They got a couple others like that, and I love that little shit pieced in there and done right. The only downside is it's really independent, and there was I feel like a lot of testing with some directors and especially actors. There's some acting that's real harsh, not polished. They're not picking the best of the best, and I understand it, but I would imagine up-and-comers, a lot of people that's not well known, and it's rough. So go into it with that understanding, because some of it might be a little hard to get through. Anyhow, that's pretty much it when it comes to The World Beyond. I really don't know what else we need to discuss. However, I think GameSpot, who has it? This guy has an article that covers pretty much, we went over the premiere date. Yeah, it follows the finale of season 10. Yeah, I think that's it. So you guys let me know what you think about this. And remember, because I'm seeing some certain comments that I'm wondering if I missed an announcement or things are getting a little warped. Like World Beyond, from what I understand, it is going to have the connections to the network that's heavily showcased in the Rick movies. And again, it's the draw to bring us in. But once we get there, as an example of how it's going to just completely go the other direction and not have anything to do with the Rick movies, we might be at a Community, and I think this is heavily hinted in the trailer, but we'll see the uniforms, the outfits, we'll see the certain community that's in the network of other communities, and whatever our characters, whatever story has them leave this community and go on this adventure, the main story for the next 2 seasons will follow them. They go out and about and they go on this adventure, and we never get anything else from those main communities. As an example, just a general example. So when we first jump into it, we see that connection to the network of the Rick movies, but then by the end of the 2 seasons, it's about this journey and where they go and what they do and whatever they're cooking up there. You get what I'm saying? So that way, when it ends, it's not only when it ends, but the story itself isn't even connected to the Rick movies. That's the vibe I'm getting. I could be totally wrong, but Scott Gimple, if you double read his article, his interview, it sounds like that's exactly what's going to happen, where it'll have those connective pieces and then they're just going to move totally away from it. But you put your thoughts and opinions in the comment box. What do you think about this news? I'm going to get working so I can finish the editing on The Walking Dead Flaws and Aws for Days Gone By, which is fun as hell. I love doing the older ones. I hope you guys like those, and keep an eye out for that one coming up soon. All right, I'm done talking. It's your turn.